Mr. President, there is nowhere in the Electoral Act 2022 where INEC is compelled to transmit results electronically. None at all. Section 60, subsection 5 calls for transfer of results by the polling agent transfer of results and accreditation data in a manner as prescribed by INEC. And like Senator Olorbe said, these results are not transmitted on a real-time basis. Like they are saying, what they are expecting is that from the polling unit, you press a button and these results go directly to headquarters. That is not the wording of the act, and that is not the intention. The process, Mr. President, is for the beavers, for the polling, for the officer to use the beavers machine to take a snapshot of that result. Yes. When he takes that snapshot, he sends it to the, the INEC server, and it is those pictures of those various electoral results that people are talking about. Now, if for any reason there is an issue with that transfer of results, Mr. President, then nothing stops. In fact, if you go further, order, I need protection, Mr. President. Mr. President, the same, to buttress my point, the same Electoral Act compels INEC to keep a database of the pictures of those results at the polling unit agents. And what it says in that section is that it should be updated on a continuous basis. So the presumption is that the results are not going to come at once. Once INEC keeps a database, the compulsion on INEC is for them to supply anybody, a party, an interested party, with an electronic copy of that result if he asks for it and pays a fee. If you go to a tribunal and you want evidence, you call, INEC is compelled to keep those results in that way. So, Mr. President, I think we need to be very, very careful. We passed this electoral act. Let us not take to go and settle this dispute in court. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Okay.
Mr. President, for the simple reason that we sat down in this chamber and drew up a new electoral act. And there was so much controversy that we actually had to go through that exercise twice, if I may remember. Because the crux of the matter now and all the arguments are being based on electronic transmission of results. And I watch with dismay how, the clauses in the Electoral Act were interpreted in different ways by different people. Mr. President, if you recall, during the debate for the Electoral Act, it took us almost an hour on the issue of this electronic transmission. I was one of those that was opposed to electronic transmission in its totality for the very simple reason that we had limitations. And these are the limitations that have come into play that people are now taking advantage of.
The Senate notes that the 2023 Presidential and National Assembly election held across the country on the 25th day of February 2023. The result of elections were announced at the various over 176,000 polling units in the country, and the collation of the results were conducted in the over 9,000 wards and 774 local government and the 36 states and the FCT across the country. The above process are ongoing in line with the Electoral Act passed by this National Assembly. That the issue of use of electronic technology inserted in the Electoral Act is for its use by INEC as may be appropriate. That specifically the provision of the transfer of results from PU is for the polling officers to snap the result announced at the PU and transfer same to INEC server upon availability of network, but not transmission in real time. This is the provision of the Electoral Act which we passed. That the Electoral Act and INEC guideline provide for the collation of results and final announcement to be done by the chief returning officers as far as the presidential election. That the Electoral Act provide for any person that is dissatisfied with the announced result to seek redress in the court and not to engage in any other unlawful action. This Senate is concerned with the various comments and action by individuals on the ongoing process of collation and announcement of presidential election. The Senate is worried of the potential effect of such comment and action to the peace, welfare, and progress of this country. The Senate is therefore urged to resolve to urge all political actors, leaders, and all Nigerians to remain calm, law-abiding, and allow the process of collation and announcement of the result of the presidential election held on 25th day of February 2023. The Senate should urge INEC to conduct its responsibility of collation and announcement of the presidential election in line with the guidelines for the conduct of the election. 3, that the Senate should appeal to all political actors and indeed all Nigerians to abide by the rule of the electoral competition by accepting result of election or seek redress in the appropriate court.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, please, if we have to discuss work according to the rules and the laid down procedures. For the procedures, we are supposed to have papers of
Listen to me, please.
Yes, please.
Listen to me, please. We should conduct ourselves with some respect, please. We ruled, we said we are going to allow him, and I ruled. You can't come back and say you need the paper.
Mr. President, what we agreed was different from what he's reading.
Just listen, please.
He is reading beyond what we agreed. What he said was that we are going to calm down nerves. But if we have to disrupt this, if we have to discuss the Electoral Act, I need to have the papers. Mr. President, most of us here, apart from a few of us who didn't contest elections, cannot sit in judgment in what is happening in Nigeria today. And we cannot interpret the law because we are not the judiciary. Mr. President, like you rightly pointed out, if we have to say anything at all, we should just appeal to Nigerians for calm while the proper thing is done. And INEC has to do the proper thing. Nobody can come here and tell us that the BVAS machine was not supposed to transmit results. It was supposed to transmit results direct, supported with a photograph of the result. And there is no way you can collate results without having your BVAS total in your server. In every collation point in Nigeria, there is a technology person that is stationed in the collation center whose responsibility is to make sure that the BVAS numbers tally with the result numbers. And so if INEC sits down here and is reporting results without tallying it with the numbers in the VS, it's wrong. So if we want to speak on this, we'll speak on this. But if you want to appeal to Nigerians, then let's just appeal to Nigerians and then just leave this matter to lie. And let INEC do the right thing, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Hammering on this thing is very clear. There are just 3 issues on this. 1, accreditation and verification to be done by the BVAS. And in that case, it's real time. How is it real time? When you accredit, every time there is, maybe after getting like 20, 30 names, it's sent back to the back-end server. That is done clearly, which is completely different from where an election result, we are not voting electronically for that real-time effect of transfer to happen or transmission to happen. Transmission can only happen in the case of results after it has been published on the BVAS. How is it published? Like you having your phone and taking a picture and then send. So it's not real time. It's not real time. It's publishing. It's publishing. But it has been uploaded. It has uploaded automatically. It's there in the back end of server. Wait now, you want clarification and you're arguing. You want clarification and you're arguing. What are you arguing for? Go ahead. What are you arguing for? You want clarification. If you are not convinced with the clarification, go to court. Your Excellency.
Please, Senator Ademi, you just walked in. Please.
Your Excellency.
Listen to what is happening.
Your Excellency, we know that we are not in court to interpret what we have passed as a law. We have already passed that as a law. We are not a court to interpret. But INEC has the responsibility to give out a guideline. And they have not breached anything in the guideline. How? How? They have uploaded to the back
Just
end.
hold on. The Distinguished Senator San Musa. Distinguished Senator San Musa.
Either INEC or whoever is right. What I'm saying is that it's a simple process. And that process, after publishing, they send it to back-end servers. And when it is at the back-end servers of the INEC, it is at that point that INEC can decide now to publish it and put it on the IREP or not. And if they don't put it on the IREP, from what we have read so far, INEC have been attacked 160 times. 160 times. And nobody is making any issue about that.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, on this thing, Mr. President, is that even before the motion is being moved, you can see the controversy. People are interpreting it along party lines. The best way is to step down this act, because let's not lean on INEC in doing their job. Let's not lean on them in any way. Let's just step it down, because if on this floor is generating this kind of controversy, imagine what will happen out there when the motion is passed. Even if it's advised, people will misinterpret it.
Mr. President, I think you have caused all these controversies, unnecessary controversies. The reason being, the Senate should not involve itself in even the call for calm. Time has not come. Please, you should remember, the elections have come, and in fact, they have gone. And you know, whatever happens at the collation centers and the social media, the Senate should not involve itself. Not to talk about asking members, senators, to interpret the law. Our job has been done and finished with. We passed the Electoral Act. You said it yourself. And for goodness sake, if we don't step down this thing, there will be endless controversy on party lines, and God knows what it will generate in the public domain. So please, I beg
okay,
you.
let me correct an impression.
You started it all, and you can end it now. Because the more explanation you make, the more comments there will be. So please, just let's step down this motion, and let's clean our hands from this controversy. Thank you.
Allow this debate to go on. Just hold on, please. I didn't, and this is why. I put a question, whether we would allow him under 4151, and you said yes. If you had said no...
We said no.
No, your no was small.
You ignored the no, and you
just hold on, please.
Allowed it to happen.
Just hold on. I allowed you to talk. When you say no, and your no was a small no compared to the yes, there was no way I would rig it. There was no way. So it was given an endorsement by the majority. And let me say this. It's not true that it's needless to talk about issues like this. When a parliament is in session, there is nothing that it will not advise on. This is an advice. Just INEC stick to what the rules are. Citizens, be patient. That's all. So and that will be our prayer. So we will round it up. We'll round it up. The minority whip.
The upper parliament in this National Assembly, it is our duty to stabilize the polity by the pronouncements we make in the parliament, to calm the nerves, the frayed nerves of people that are agitated one way or the other as a result of the last election that just happened on 25th February. We are not here to make incendiary remarks here. that will cause any disease. We are here to appeal to our people to follow the law. And we're asking all the agencies of government that are also involved in this electioneering to also ensure that they follow strictly sensu or what the law stipulates. Both the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, both the Electoral Act of 2022 amended, and the law. That's all you are saying here, so that the elections at the end of the day will come out of it. Anyway, it must come, once you go for election, it must go either one way or the other. And anywhere it goes that it doesn't, we have opportunity to go to law courts, the tribunal, to canvass and ensure that we right the wrongs. That's what I'm saying, that let's just end up this is now and then pass this is here.
Mr. President, this is a very controversial matter. Considering what is going on in the country today, everywhere is tensed. There's chaos in the system. People are very apprehensive. People are very apprehensive. The only solution... People are very apprehensive. Mr. President, Mr. President, we all have our individual and excuse me.
We should listen to her, please.
Views. We have our own political inclinations and social associations. Mr. President, either way this conversation goes, there must be controversy. The only way out of this, Mr. President, is for INEC to strictly stick to the Constitution of Nigeria, stick to the Electoral Act. There's no other way out of it. And stick to their guidelines. There is no way you will be told that results will be transmitted from the polling unit. At the end of the day, results are not being transmitted from that polling unit. Let INEC stick to their Electoral Act and their guideline. That is the only solution. As for this matter, Mr. President, no matter how we take it, we have our own affiliations, we have our own interests, and we cannot resolve this matter through our own interests. The only way out is for us, for INEC to follow the law. That's all.
In this controversial arrangement. Mr. President, there is no doubt that as the upper chamber, we need to also have a voice in whatever is happening within the country. However, this process is still an ongoing process. It is on, it has not ended. And there is no serious crisis other than to ask the INEC to follow its own guidelines and the Electoral Act. Simple. There is no reason for us to play to the gallery or to pretend that we're holier than others. We should not ignite violence.
No, I don't think there's anybody who suggested.
Is for
I
us
think you are on
to
the right
just
track.
round it up.
Nobody is going to
ask everybody to maintain peace and order while we go through this process and finish it properly. Thank you.
It is Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, it could have been either way. Either this motion could not have come at all, and we would have had to rely on the beautiful speech you made, Mr. President. Your opening remarks captured the essence of what we wanted to, or what we would like to achieve as a parliament. Three things. One, that the INEC will do the right thing, not as interpreted by us, lawmakers, but the right thing based on the provisions of the electoral bill we passed, which was assented to, and today is the law guiding the electoral process. And that's our position here. Secondly, that Nigerians would be patient for INEC to complete the process. And Mr. President, if it's possible for us to deviate or avoid having to even go into the prayers that came with this motion, I think we can do that. But those two things are basic. The third thing that my own contribution is also affording me an opportunity to raise
is that we also call on the judiciary, which will be the arbiter at the end of this whole process, not to allow itself to be dragged at this point into the arena of the political battle, so that it will not have its own eyes, closed with the doors of the arena. So, Mr. President, I really feel that we can leave these issues at this point. It's an ongoing process, and I really feel as much as possible, all we need now is patience. I'm sure the next 48 hours will make all the difference. Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh, well, thank you.
We have served as parliamentarians up to this very moment and up to the end of this assembly. And I think what is important is the fact that everybody who is in this hallowed chamber must and should see him or herself as a statesman or stateswoman. The point to be made here, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is simple. As the highest legislative chamber, our voice must be a voice that just asks the institutions involved in this democratic process to stick to the rule of law, simple and period, and to ask Nigerians to please allow those who are saddled with this responsibility to carry out their duty without any form of harassment or intimidation. And within that context, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let us allow this process to conclude, because that is the only way we will strengthen and deepen the democratic process. As it is, the Electoral Act 2022 has introduced so many novel things, and so much has happened, so much good things have happened to now. And I think we should just strengthen that process by allowing it to get to the end. And that is why in this democracy we have three arms. The judiciary is there. If there is anything anybody feels is wrong, it is not our duty here to interpret. It is the duty of the judiciary. And the process of going to that judiciary is also properly captured in the relevant laws.
Well, thank you very much for the various interventions. And I understand the sensibilities and sentiments of everyone. Those who said we don't need to talk about this thing now, this is the way they feel about it. But the majority that say we should discuss it because it's important, we tell the authorities, in this particular case, INEC, to do exactly what the law, the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and their guidelines and regulations provide for. For the rest of us citizens, we should be calm, we should watch what is going on. Anyone who later is not satisfied can go to court, whether as an individual or as an institution. So I want to thank you for the various interventions. Thank you very much.